Welcome back to the Queer Stoic Podcast and to Episode 7 and the Chapter 2 of the Stoicism Workbook. This week we will be focusing on control and the lack of it we actually have in our lives as opposed to how much we think we have. As a fellow control freak, this has been a difficult concept for me to grasp and to learn to let go of the illusion of control that I have over certain events or influence in general over those events. In the end, control is just another way to worry, and worry is a slippery slope to fall down. I want you to keep this phrase in mind as you listen. Amor Fati. I will explain this in depth later. The basic translation is love your fate. With that in mind, on with the show. Paradox of control. The paradox of control is the pitfall of trying to control the uncontrollable and investing all our efforts in that belief. Page 18. This eventually leads to a loss of control over our own thoughts, emotions, and actions to a point that we are left floundering in a pool of uncontrollable desires and emotions. This can in turn lead to a feeling of being unmoored from reality or life itself. Dichotomy of control. The opposite to this, the dichotomy of control, is the understanding that there are things inside our realm of control and things outside of that realm, and the ability to distinguish between them. This idea of two categories of control was introduced by Epictetus in his Enchiridion on the very first page. It is a common practice in modern-day therapy as well. A different definition of insanity. There is a level of insanity that comes with worrying over things we cannot control. If it is out of our control, we shouldn't focus too much on it, if at all. More of a passing recognition of the event, passing through time. There are root causes of certain emotional patterns in accordance with a lack of perceived control that are mentioned by a psychotherapist, Tim Laban. Anger and frustration stems from the belief you can control other people. Shame and guilt from believing you had more control over the past. Worry and anxiety by overthinking aspects of the future you can't control, and procrastination by trying to get things perfect before getting started. You can't make things perfect in the first place. The Stoic Archer. There is a parable, so to speak, about the archer in Stoicism. Archery focuses on form, how you stand, where you're aiming, and the release of the arrow. After the arrow leaves the bow, there is no more control. It will fly where it flies. Land where it lands, whether that be the target or the ground beyond or beneath it. Epictetus mentions control further in the passage. Rather than striving to make events unfold according to your desires, embrace them as they naturally occur. If you can do this, you'll find contentment. Enchiridion 8. Why do we want control? The want for control seems to be connected to the broad umbrella of uncertainty. If we feel uncertain or lack predictability in our life, it can cause fear of being unsafe. Fear is a motivator for controlling what we shouldn't try to control. This is more common with irrational fears, or fear of what is not even likely to happen in the first place. Terrible, awful things can happen to you, but it is in most cases. it is more likely you can and will bounce back. Sometimes the fear of the unknown can make us want to hear the bad news instead of no news at all. That stems from the intolerance of uncertainty. Being indifferent to what makes no difference. Stoics divide indifference into two categories: preferred and dispreferred. Preferred indifference. External desires that shouldn't dictate our happiness or self-worth, strength, wealth, pleasure, and social status. Stoics see things as needing to be indifferent and to remove them from the pedestal most put them on and maintain an air of indifference towards them because they are not truly within our control as much as we wish they were. Dispreferred indifference. External, adverse desires that we wish to not happen to us. Weakness, illness, poverty, ugliness, etc. From a Stoic perspective, we will all eventually die and return to nature as it is meant to be. What we can do is accept this eventual fate gracefully instead of worry and grieve it, or worse, try to avoid it completely. Of course, we should care for ourselves physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but it shouldn't consume us or reach a point of overall delusion that we are not going to die. Looks are also a touchy subject for most people. We would all prefer to be conventionally attractive or just look our best at all times, but in reality this is a shallow and unachievable aim. We look as we are due to genetics and aging. It's still beautiful in its uniqueness. The book mentions a rather good quote regarding this and other indifference. We can alter our fleshy bodies all we want, but to focus on that, and only that, is to again chase down the speeding train to happiness that never meets its destination. Page 24 through 25. In general, the beauty is pain mentality only leads to misery in the end. It is better to focus on letting external things flow as they will, and keep our minds calm should those worries rear their heads. Fate permitting. Stoicism isn't inherently religious, although some of the figureheads would mention a phrase used commonly today as well, God willing. Religious belief is not a requirement for Stoicism. In general, Stoics did not believe in a particular deity or deities. Rather, they believed that God was a divine force or power within nature itself that governs the universe. So when they mention God, they don't mean the Abrahamic one or even the Greco-Roman ones in the manner many believe they can influence human affairs. They are referring to the immanent force of natural will that drives the universe itself. And it is with this will we as humans should align ourselves to live fulfilling lives and maintain virtue. The Delphic Maxims. These are phrases inscribed at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. One in particular is, and I mentioned this at the start, Amor Fati, or love your fate. As a general rule, we shouldn't try to control or second-guess fate and simply allow it to flow. Loving your fate involves not fighting with all your energy against things which fate decides in the end. A common phrase for this is fate permitting, or as some Stoics refer to it, the reserve clause. I will do this thing, fate permitting. I will do X unless Y occurs. Not everything goes according to plan, and that's okay. Self-deprecation. This is a common practice for a lot of people. Dare I say, everyone at some point in their life. No one is perfect, nor perceives themselves as perfect at their core. These thoughts come about when we blame ourselves for things outside of our control. This leads to low self-esteem, self-doubt, and feeling worthless. Self-deprecating thoughts can also make it difficult to reach our goals, form and maintain meaningful and healthy relationships, even in severe cases, depression or anxiety, or both. Add the reserve clause to your mental toolbox and keep it in your mental back pocket when commitments are made, because ultimately we cannot control fate, and as long as fate permits us, we will reach the goal we set to achieve. Can the worry before it cans you. The workbook mentions an episode of The Simpsons, when Homer tries to buy a can of soda which gets stuck and then his arm gets stuck while trying to retrieve the can. After an adventure of trying in a work crew coming out, someone asks the question, Homer, are you just holding on to the can? We are Homer in the situation of life where we won't let go of something even though letting go is the better option. This is especially true with worry. We hold so tightly to it like Homer in the can as if it will somehow protect us from the inevitable. It won't. Lend me your ears, and let me be the voice of reason here. That's ironic, but anyway. Let go of the can. It will be okay in the end. Let go. Many of us, myself included, feel if we are not in control of everything in our life, we are somehow completely out of control, and we need something to do damage control. The damage control is our worry. All we're doing is driving ourselves bonkers. The book goes on to say that, quote, worry is just us versus us. Page 28. Become tolerant of uncertainty. Focus on accepting and embracing uncertainty and taking uncertainty in stride. The book mentions the wave of life in that we can't control the waves, but we can learn to ride them no matter how big or small to find balance and harmony. Like a surfer. Page 30. I invite you all to be like the surfer and ride the waves of life, having fun as you do, and as you do this, ask yourself these questions daily, as the workbook suggests. Is it possible to be certain of everything in my life? How is my need for certainty helpful or unhelpful? Is it reasonable to predict the bad things will happen just because I'm uncertain? What's the likelihood of good things happening versus bad things happening? How likely am I to predict the future? And what advice would I give a friend who is afraid of the unknown? Paradox of control and the LGBTQ+ community. Control closet. On the whole, being closeted is another form of control, and in that it is also another form of worry. We closet ourselves in an effort to control the narrative of how others see us. Our friends, family, coworkers, even the general public. I was closeted for many years. A majority of those I didn't even realize I was closeted. Mainly because I didn't have the knowledge base nor socioeconomic exposure to realize my mannerisms, internal thoughts, and emotions were indicative of a gender expression outside my sex assigned at birth. As a result, I very much masked myself to fit into the neat little box others, especially my family, expected me to be in to keep them from questioning me and my internal world. To give you a glimpse into this, I would dream from a male perspective. In my dreams, I was a male, had male features, and experienced male situations. After a while, I assumed it meant I was gay and preferred women. During the time I was closeted, and in hindsight, it was indeed a form of control over the situation. Even when I semi-realized I was a trans man, I remained in the closet and continued to mask myself to control the narrative. The narrative being the personality I presented to the world to keep them from looking too closely at the little nuances that made me different from the average. And being different from the average was dangerous in my mind, and the minds of us all at some point. Relinquishing control. We can only control what we do and say. Controlling the narrative is outside those two realms when it comes to what control we do have as humans. If you were in the closet for the same reason I was, to control the narrative, let go of the closet. Don't view it as a way to control anything. Step out of it if you can safely. If you can't do so safely, let go of the closet emotionally and spiritually as an idea of control. See it as a tool. Let me explain. The closet is a tool, a way of metamorphizing from your true self to that which you present to the world and back again, like an actor changing costumes. Who you are inside doesn't change. The skin you wear changes, like a video game where you customize your character with colors and outfits. Be your true self in private and change costumes when you are in public. Don't pretend to be anything but yourself. Just change the costume. You are still exhibiting control over your own actions, so the control aspect of the closet, to control what others think, is not there. You are still you, just wearing a different costume. People will think what they want, say what they want, pay no mind. Don't try to control how they see you. It is a fruitless endeavor anyway and will only drive you nuts. Going back to letting go of the closet and stepping out of it if it is safe to do so. For those of us who can, step out of the closet. Or to be honest, are at the point in transition for my transgender kindreds that are, quote-unquote, cis-passing. Even if you're not cis-passing, the closet isn't needed. All it is now is a cocoon of self-destruction. You don't need to control anything, only yourself. Others will think, do, and say whatever. Pay it no mind. Control your own actions and words. Be yourself and have fun with the freedom leaving the closet behind will give you. Let me give you the permission to let go of the illusion of control. Why worry about what others think? You will drive yourself nuts, attempting to control whatever you wish, but in the end, it's all an illusion. Control what you have inside your realms of control and let go of everything else. I promise you, it will be okay. This marks the end of the episode, and as always, here's the journal prompts for the week. From the workbook, make a list of situations you run into throughout the week and categorize them as inside your realms of control or outside your realms of control. Meditate or journal on how you can let go of one situation that is truly outside your control and is a source of worry in your week. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to drop me a follow at the socials or visit the website link in the show notes for updates or reach out. I check my messages and emails daily. Hit that donation link in the description if you are able so I can keep making content and feed my slightly concerning caffeine addiction. Tune in next week for Chapter 3. Bye!